Good morning to you and welcome to another Clincheck Theater Thursday. I am your host, Dr. David Gallagher. Today we're going to take a look at a particularly two-pronged approach. Number one, we have a kind of moderate upper-lower anterior class 1 crowding here, class 1 crowding there. And we're going to align the anterior teeth nice and perfect. That looks good. But I've taught in a previous Clincheck Theater Thursday that one of the most important things that I always do is check that end stage premolar occlusion. Look at that end stage premolar occlusion on those first bicuspids. It looks better beforehand than afterwards. We don't want to see that. That's not good. So if you see an end stage occlusion on the premolars that is worse than what you started, then you want to go hit modify plan number 1. Now, the way I'm going to modify it, as we've already discussed, is with my favorite button at all. That's called the buccal crown torque. I'm going to bring that boy all the way forward. That is a 100 for 100 movement, buccal crown torque. Hit auto resolve just to get the occlusion nice and tight, and that is a nice, maybe a little too much even. Maybe I'll go a little more, a little in. Yeah, maybe that's a better. Kind of nice end stage occlusion. Just get those guys kind of nice and resolved out. All right, that's good. You know, I could probably just do a little intrusion here. Again, I'm going to hit that intrusion. Going to go a little down green. Just a drop down. And just, again, buccal crown torque, which is our home run movement. Boom. Get it right into close into that thing. We'll auto-resolve it so that the occlusion is real good. All right, now I like it. I like it, okay? I like it, and I think that that will work well. Here's the rub. When I hit live up, all right, so I improved that initial occlusion. The actual way the occlusion ended on these premolars was wide open. Now that actual occlusion is much, much better. Now, here's the rub. If I hit live update and you did not lock the molars, when you start moving premolars around with 3D controls, it unlocks the hammer shackles that are on the molars. All of a sudden, molars start jumping. The molars weren't moving originally in this case, but anytime you control live updates and you start moving teeth around, you gotta go back and you gotta lock those molars in. If you don't lock the molars in before you start moving other teeth, watch what's gonna happen when I finish this live update. I'm gonna finish this live update, and those molars are going to have all kinds of crazy movements in them that weren't there beforehand and weren't part of GLR. We know in GLR, you can't move the molars unless those molars are tipped to the lingual. So watch as we play through this that you're not going to see those molars static. All of a sudden, once you start moving things around with 3D controls, for some reason, those molars start coming alive and they start moving. So let's see what happens here in this case as soon as I finish. All right, let's take a look. Previously, these molars weren't moving. Look at that second molar. What is happening? It looks like Shaggle Rock. Those second molars are kind of moving. Yeah, I fixed my first bicuspid occlusion. I got a much better, nice occlusion on those guys. It was kind of wide open beforehand. But look at these inadvertent little first and second molar. Look at the second molar is kind of dancing around like crazy. What you need to do is you need to lock those guys in. Anytime you're going to move teeth around, you got to make sure to lock those molars before you do it. The way that we lock molars is we go into the modification. Before I move any teeth, I got to lock those molars straight down. And I'll kind of show and demonstrate what that looks like. So what I want to do is make unmovable. Make unmovable. Even in the Gallagher engine, when molars are not even supposed to move, you have to lock those teeth in before you start making any 3. The fact that they don't have movement to start of doesn't mean in the end. What? That would never happen in Gallagher engine. That is never ever supposed to happen. But once you hit those 3D controls, it makes those molars movable. So anytime you use 3D controls, before you do anything, always auto resolve as well, and also make sure that you always lock those molars in. Thanks very much and have a wonderful day. If you want to stay around, you could see how this Clincheck will now be fixed. It'll have that premolar movement that I wanted in it, but it won't have that molar. Now, I did it in 2 steps, but honestly, what you'd rather have in the future is you'd rather have it before you start moving the premolars with 3D controls. What you want is to lock those molars in if they're not moving, because if you don't lock those molars in, before you start making 3D control changes, those molars will come alive and they'll start dancing and moving in the most chaotic and crazy nonsensical movements that I do not like, that do not function anything orthodontically, that won't happen anyway in Clinchecks because it's very hard to move a full Invisalign tooth anyway. Best thing you could do for yourself before you start moving any teeth within a 3D controls, start to lock them in with 3D, make those molars unmovable so that they, as you start moving things around, they don't dance around at all. Let's take a look at how that finishes up right here. Boom. Okay, now I still have that premolar movement that I scheduled. Remember that premolar movement? I didn't love the way. Now I still have my good occlusion on my premolars that I like, but I don't have these molars doing. Remember that little herky-jerky movement that that second molar was doing? It is not doing it anymore. If we wanted to compare it, you can kind of see the difference. When I didn't lock the molar, all of a sudden I turned the corner in the Clincheck, and that second molars were jumping and dancing all over. Now that I locked those molars, those second molars don't do anything. Thanks very much, and have a wonderful day.